you ain't no good to us no more. So after 5, 6, 8, 10 years or whatever number of years, you will have learned enough that in some way you can bring it back to the hood. Whatever the job is, learn why that corporation is so powerful. Why? Because you are charged with building an institution in the black community. That's what you got to do. So that when your child and your grandchild come along, there's something. You see, when these white kids leave Ames, a whole lot of them gonna go to their daddy's company and get a job, or to Uncle Joe's company and get a job. You see, you ain't got no Uncle Joe. But you have got to be the Uncle Joe, or at least set the wheel rolling for that to be an Uncle Joe for our kids. That's what you got to do. And not get hung up on living on the north side and hanging out at Faces or Happy Medium or wherever y'all hang out. And always at sets. Always spending your money, putting something aside for the cause. Next question. Yes.
What do you say is black people's role in election 1980 and what their views on the presidential?
Well, that's a toughie. That's really a tough one. Because, to be perfectly honest with you, up until the last primary election last March, I had not voted for 8 years. I just refused to vote because I had reached a point in my political development that I was tired of choosing between the lesser of two evils. So I had just quit voting. But last election, there was a brother who needed my vote. He was a clear choice. Senator Harold Washington, running for Congress, the 1st Congressional District. So I registered for the first time in 8 years so I could go vote for Harold. I voted for Harold and 1 or 2 others and didn't vote for nobody else. Now, here in the presidential election, you got the lesser of 3 evils. That's what you got to vote for. I'm going to vote this time for president. I didn't vote for president last time. I didn't vote for mayor last time. I'm going to vote for president this time. And I'm going to vote for Carter. But not because I want to vote for Carter, but because I'm scared of Reagan. But you see the trick bag we are always in as black people. We don't have no choices. What kind of choice I had between voting for Mayor Bilandic and Jane Byrne? There's no choice. But, sister, you and your peers are going to have to start that slow process of building a political institution in the black community. There is not, aside from the machine, the regular democratic organization in the black community, there is not one organization in the black community that's devoted exclusively to politics. So, we have nothing out of which power can emerge. We don't have in Chicago 1.5 million, maybe 2 million of us. The one thing they can do, they can build spaceships which they claim go to the moon, and they can build 3-mile islands, and they can build all of this great technological wonders, but there's one thing they cannot do, and that is count us. They cannot figure out a way to find out how many of us there is.
That's right.
So there may be 2 million of us in Chicago. Who knows? But my point is, with all those black folks in Chicago, we do not have a recreation center that we own and control. Think about it. You want to send your kid to go out play basketball, your little girl to do some crafts and arts and stuff, where do you have to send them? To the Y, run by white folks, to the boys club, run by white folks, to some little settlement house, run by white folks. We have no institutions in our community. Believe me, power comes out of institutions. If you don't think the YMCA is not a powerful institution, you don't know what you're talking about. If you don't think the University of Chicago is not a powerful institution, you don't know what you're talking about. And if you don't think that, what's the name of this place? Iowa State University is not a powerful institution, you don't know what you're talking about. So brothers and sisters, y'all got to build some institutions, some political institutions, so that when my great-grandchild goes to vote, he'll have a choice. Does that answer your question? I know it doesn't give you much guidance, because all I can tell you to do is to vote for Carter so you don't get raped. But you got Carter, you see. And y'all know what Carter's been, you know. So, I don't know. But become knowledgeable about politics. Everything is political. Everything. And we must control our own communities, politically, economically. You see, because of those shackles, and I told the brother that brought me up here that you chose a beautiful theme. Them shackles on their minds. You see, because of the shackles on their minds, we let anybody come in our community and take it over and run it. You don't know of any Greek community which has an Italian alderman. Ain't no way. You don't know of any Irish community that would have a black alderman. Ain't no way. Yet, we'll have a Greek alderman. We'll have an Iranian alderman, if necessary. And you are going to have to stop. I'm too old. I'm 58 years old. I am weary. I got to turn it over to y'all. Yes.
How do you feel predominantly black communities are fitting into black becoming more self-independent? The black communities, like the predominantly black cities that are somewhat controlled by blacks, how do you feel they're fit into black eventually becoming self-dependent? Or
well, you see,
how long way are they?
well, a long way. Because of what I've been talking about all night long. You see, we just don't control anything. We might have an all-black city in the sense that nobody lives there but black folks. Robbins is one in Chicago area. But if I remember correctly, Robbins has to get his water from Blue Island. See, we don't control the water that we drink. The white folks in Blue Island said, I don't let them niggas drink no more water at all. And yet we call it a black city. Understand what I'm talking about control of our own lives. Electricity, water, food, I mean the basics of life. We don't control them. So until we get it in our mentality of what control means and what power really means. And see, the other thing that bugs me about us, I did a broadcast on this, about this whole business of feeling inferior. You know, it blows your mind that we would feel inferior. Because if you analyze the situation, see, y'all got to read. Y'all don't read. I know you don't read enough. But the more you read, the more you learn. And if you learn, you can analyze what a situation is. We allow anybody to just take over in our community. And that has got to stop. Black first. Black first. White folks say whites first. The Jews say Jews first. The Greeks say Greeks first. And going down the line. But we are always ready to let some other group be first. And the reason for that is because we are dependent on them. And my wife talks about the pimp-prostitute relationship, or the what's the thing to get on a dog and ticks. You see, we are sucking the blood of white folks. And if we would just analyze the situation, we'd be running as far away from white folks as we could. That's right. Because Western civilization is doomed. It can't last. Give you a few examples. Luckily, I got here tonight. But a few months ago, I had sworn off flying. After Flight 191 crashed, I said, I will never get in another one of them monsters. If an engine can just fall off an airplane, but I discovered that it ain't that easy to quit flying. Amtrak don't go nowhere. And the bus, I just can't deal with it. This is too far for me to drive, so I had no choice but to take the air. When I got to the airport, supposed to leave at 20 minutes to 4. The sign said departure 4 o'clock. And they said, well, we don't have a crew for the plane. We got a plane where we got to assemble a crew. So we had to wait. I don't think we left till 5:15. But that ain't my point. My point is, we talk about whites being superior and blacks being inferior. When whites run it, everything, and everything is in trouble. Look at the air, pollution, the air and water. It is polluted. It has gotten so now that you don't know what to eat. In fact, you're scared to eat anything if you worry about cancer. You can't even eat hamburgers no more. They built 3 Mile Island. And when it started acting up, they had no idea what to do. They had no idea of what to do. They sent, what was that thing they sent up in the air? Skylab. They got it up there, didn't have no idea how to bring it back down. They didn't know where it was going to come down, when it was going to come down. They had figured out a certain area, so many 100 square miles where it might fall. They did not know. And they call themselves superior. And we say they're superior and we inferior. And they running everything and running in the ground. And they superior? Ain't no way. They are superior only because your minds have been so shackled that you believe in it. If it's white, it's right. Brown, stick around. Black, get back. That's the 1 and 2 of it. I'll take a couple more questions. See, because I was so late getting here, I ain't had no dinner. Yeah, I got here 30 minutes before I was scheduled to speak because them white folks couldn't figure out how to put a crew on an airplane. I'm serious. can figure out how to get 3 stewardesses and a pilot and a navigator and say, now y'all be at O'Hare at 2:30. Here's this great big airplane sitting on the ground. But see, we laugh, but if that airport had given me that airplane, or given it to you, brother, or to you, or to any of you sisters, and said, okay, you fly it. Couldn't fly. Wouldn't have had the slightest idea how to fly it. But if we are going to take the shackles off our minds, we're going to have to come to the State University of Iowa and stop taking physical education and stop taking English and stop taking social work, sociology, and political science. What you going to do with it? Look, I got me a degree. I got me a degree in 1942 in sociology. And I got my degree, and I said, now, where do I go from here? Well, what do you do with a degree in history? Because where it's at is physics, chemistry, biology. That's where it's really at. How many of y'all major in biology? Good, got 3. Now, first thing I want y'all to do is find a book called The Tomorrow File by Lawrence Sanders. It's a paperback book. Read it and get some idea of what these biologists are cooking up. Y'all know a little bit about cloning and genetic engineering. Well, Lawrence Sanders talks about tomorrow. Here's what he's very clever. He talks about what the ruling powers, and the ruling powers, incidentally, in the tomorrow file aren't the presidents. They are the scientists. And the scientists cook up all these different schemes, and the country is not ready for those kind of schemes, so they put them in the tomorrow file, then they get the country ready for those schemes, and they take it out of the tomorrow file. It is a fascinating book. Let me tell you while I'm on books, one other book. Every one of y'all got to buy it. Y'all had Haki Madhubuti up here yet to speak? Haki Madhubuti used to be Darnell Lee. You don't know Haki? All right, y'all got to get Haki up here. The Destruction of Black Civilization. You got it? Beautiful. I want all y'all to get it. There ain't enough to get it. It ain't enough to read it. You got to study it. The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. Right. Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. And that is a book that every black college student must have. And I don't care if it takes you a year to deal with it, because it ain't the kind of book that you get a can of beer and sit up and put your foot up on the shelf and start reading. It's a book you study. But it's a book which documents how over a period of 2,000 years, how whites have systematically destroyed black civilizations. Systematically. And it's up to you as young brothers and young sisters to give yourselves a mission in this struggle. I think I'll read you a little excerpt from Chancellor Williams, and then I'm going to have y'all point me to some dinner. There's one chapter in the book called The View from the Bridge, in which he takes a look at what's ahead. He said the outlook is grim. For the black people of the world, there is no bright tomorrow. Blacks may continue to live in their dream world of singing, dancing, marching, praying, and hoping, still trusting in the ultimate justice of the white man. But 1,000 years hence, their descendants will be substantially where the race was 1,000 years before. And he says a little later, blacks are still hopelessly naive if they do not yet understand that whites never did and do not now intend to include blacks in the doctrine of human equality, equal justice, or anything else that means real equality. Whites are the implacable foe, the traditional and everlasting enemy of blacks. The compelling reason for putting this declaration in its historical context is made very clear. The necessary re-education of blacks and a solution for the racial crisis can begin only when blacks fully realize one central fact in their lives. That central fact, the white man is their bitter enemy. And he says this is not the ranting of wild-eyed militancy. It is the calm and unmistakable verdict of several thousand years of documented history. That does not mean that every white person you see is your enemy. There will be one out of how many million? But what he's talking about is the culture out of which black or white people come. He's not talking about you or individual white folks. He's talking about the culture out of which you come. White people have plundered this world. Plundered this world. There is no imperialist like the American. And what you must do, my brothers and sisters, tonight, go home to your dormitory room and hope that your roommate is not present. So you can turn out the light and sit in a dark corner. I'm serious. And ask yourselves some very serious questions. The first question, is there a shackle on my mind? The honest answer is yes. The next question, do I want to remove that shackle? That's a hard one to deal with. Because when you are dependent, you don't like to get undependent or independent, because then you got to assume some responsibilities. But if you can answer yourself, yes, I want to remove those shackles, then you ask yourself, when do I start? The answer to that one is now. Now. And if you need help, help is around you if you reach out for it. And my brothers and sisters, don't ever find yourselves in any kind of a situation where you go to the back door without being told. There are 100,000 ways to go to that back door. And for God's sake, don't go around there and don't see a door and start cutting one out. Your mission is to go to the front door. And when you don't see no front door, you start looking for that axe or that hatchet, or if necessary, a pocket knife. And start cutting out that front door. You've been a beautiful audience, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you very much.
thank each and every one of you for attending Black Perspective 1980. I would like to remind you of Wednesday night's film entitled Malcolm X, which is being presented at 6:30 p.m. at Coover Auditorium, room 238. Thank you and good evening.